right, guys, so we're doing something completely different. You're in your small groups right now. We're getting ready for the message, and you guys are going to get an opportunity to kind of be interactive with the message today. We're talking about comparison a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk today about a guy named Saul and a guy named David and how comparison ended up ruining Saul's life. But there's something really key to understand before we even get into this. So what you're going to do before we even watch this message is, as a small group, you're going to read together 1 Samuel 8, 6 through 22. You're going to read these verses together and look at the whole nation of Israel. How they started off with comparison because they were noticing that there was these other places, these other nations that had some human earthly kings, and they were kind of upset and jealous because they didn't have a king here on earth, because God was their king. God was their only king. They didn't have a human king, but other nations did. And they even got to the point so bad of like jealousy and comparison that even though God told them what would happen if they got a king, like all the things this king would do that were bad and evil, like they really wanted a king anyways. And the truth is that when we fall into comparison pulls us from our king into pain. And we see this happen with Saul. We see this happen with the Israelites. So go ahead and read those verses together, and then we're going to jump into the message. We'll see you guys in a minute.
Hey everybody, my name's Matt, and we are right in the middle of a series called Thief of Everything. What's it about? Well, it's about the one thing that all of us have the potential to get caught up in: comparison. It's when we compare something about ourselves against something about someone else. And so to set up what we're talking about today, I have to ask if you love one person in particular: Loki. He's awesome. You know Loki. He's called the God of Mischief, which would have been a great nickname for some of you probably when you were in middle school. But Loki is played by Tom Hiddleston, this incredible actor who does an amazing job of showing that part of Loki is always torn between good and evil. Almost all of Loki's issues originate with his struggle with one single person: Thor, the god of thunder. Listen, this is Loki's older brother. Now, the problem is super simple. Loki was jealous. I mean, look at Thor. Look at those arms. Look at his hair. Have you ever heard him talk? Who wouldn't want to be Thor? Thor was the golden child and the heir to the throne. But Loki was the mischievous little brother hiding in the shadows. And his jealousy took him to all kinds of negative places. Why? Well, because that's what jealousy knows how to do. When it comes to your heart, jealousy is a silent killer. And so one of the interesting things about jealousy is that I've never heard a single person ever actually say, you know what? I struggle with jealousy. I feel jealous toward my best friend, or toward that random girl on IG, or to that guy who's on my team who everyone just knows is better than me. Now, I'm not trying to convince you that you have a jealousy issue, but instead, let me tell you what it looks like for me. So, when I was growing up, me and this guy named Chris, we were really good friends and we played all the sports together. In football, I was the center and he was the quarterback. And so we were very much a tandem. We played all the sports at the exact same time, but on the field, Chris is the one who got all the accolades, he's the one who got all the honors, and he's the one who won all the awards. Now, as a result, our team was a lot better. It was fun playing with Chris, but inside, there was a large part of me that was just jealous because Chris is getting all this attention. He's the one having all these awards, and I'm like, I want that. I wish that was something that I could get. Now, the problem with the story is that Chris was just faster than me and stronger than me and overall more athletic than me. I mean, the guy ended up being an MLB draft pick and he played D1 football. I didn't do either of those two things. And so in reality, the problem is that Chris was just better and more impressive on the field, but I was still jealous.
3, 2, 1, go. What's up, guys? How's it going? Hey, I hope you guys have been enjoying this brand new experience that we guys are giving you guys in small groups. We want to take a quick second, kind of detour, and start off by asking the first couple questions. We're going to be going over questions 1 and questions 2. To get the conversation rolling, I got Kennedy and I got Matthew here, and I'm curious with you guys, do you guys ever struggle with jealousy? And what does that look like, starting off with Matt?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it's so easy for us just as people to struggle with jealousy. It's something that all of us deal with at one point. And I know for me, like, I deal with jealousy. Like when I see somebody do something right, I want to do that too. You know what I mean? Whether it comes to like what toys they have, what games they have, right? What they're doing, I want to do that, but I want to try to take it a step further and do it better, right? Because I'm so much of a perfectionist in myself, which isn't a great thing all the time. That can be so easy for me to want to do that, and it's so easy for me just to be jealous.
Yeah, I think the ultimate answer is yes. Like, so many people struggle with jealousy. And I definitely struggle with jealousy of when people are like showcasing their talents, and like you see somebody with this really awesome talent and you're like, wow, why don't I have that talent? And it's, you know, you can just go down this like spiral almost, because like everybody has their own God-given talents and everybody's is different. So, you know, you shouldn't be comparing yourself to others in that way of like, oh, why don't I have this talent, when really you have your own talents and you have your own, like, you're so unique and everybody's just made just exactly how God wanted you to be made. So it's really hard to struggle with jealousy and also try to live a life of Christ, you know? So it's hard, but you know, you just like have to power through it and remember the promises that God gives us.
Well, thank you guys for sharing that, and I hope you guys have a great time and really get into the meat and potatoes of jealousy with these first two questions. Bye.
I was just envious. Now, I never would have been able to identify that, but it was just good old-fashioned jealousy, total envy. And when it came to who was most athletic and impressive on the field, he was Thor and I was Loki. Now, was my problem Chris? Like, was he actually the problem? Not really. Because if the roles were reversed and I was the one who was more athletic than he was, I would have had no problem with him. I mean, Chris was my friend. We spent a lot of time together. But my problem was that he had something that I wanted. And in this case, it was being faster, being stronger, and just being more athletic, period. You know what? Scratch that. The real problem in the story was my heart. All of a sudden, I was completely frustrated at a guy who did nothing wrong to me. He had no ill intention toward me and had no clue that I was so jealous toward him. Maybe you've been there. Maybe for you, it was that moment when you saw their post and they looked so incredible. Or you realized that they were outshining you on the field or the court or the stage or in the classroom or with your instrument. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Maybe you saw their new car and you just wanted something so much better than the thing that you think you can maybe drive safely. Maybe you hung out at their house and their family just seemed so perfect. Maybe you found out that they got accepted into the college that you really wanted to attend. Again, if the roles were reversed and everything that they had or everything that happened to them happened to you, you'd be totally fine with them, I would imagine. But they have what you want, and so you're not fine with them, not even a little bit. Let's take it one step further. I mean, we'd never admit this, but we'd actually find some sort of pleasure sometimes in seeing that person fail or struggle. I mean, they have no clue that we'd enjoy seeing them slip up or fall below us or look worse than us or perform worse than us, but there's a little part inside of us that probably would. Like if she broke out in acne or if he had a terrible game, secretly inside, something of our heart would celebrate. And that is awful. I mean, talk about the thief of everything. So I need you to relax. I need you to realize this is all of us. We've all been there. I've been there, you've been there, the person next to you, they've been there. This struggle for us, it starts at birth and it ends at death. Babies deal with this, toddlers deal with this, and you know what? Grandparents, they deal with this too. The problems with jealousy are endless, but I'm gonna highlight one for us today. What jealousy does is it steals your ability to live your own life. When you're jealous of someone else, you get so focused on them. And whenever you do that, you quit appreciating and enjoying and seeing and experiencing and embracing any part of your own life. I don't know one person who's hyper-focused on someone else's life who is happy about their own. Because jealousy, it just consumes you and it makes you so super competitive with people that you have no business competing with. It becomes exhausting. We need to figure out a way to stop living out someone else's life and start living the one that God has given us.
Hey guys, we're gonna take a second to pause right here. We're gonna go over questions 3 and 4. But right now, I got James and Sydney here, and I'm gonna ask them, what would it look like to live the life God wanted you to?
I think that living the life that God wanted me to is showing the love and appreciation He gives you every single day. Letting other people know that they are loved and appreciated and should be so grateful that they live in such an amazing world with such an amazing God, and that He will be with them every step of the way, because that is what true love is.
Heck yeah. I'd say for me, it's honestly just living in the freedom God gives us every single day, and living in freedom from anxiety, depression, like the worries of this world, and just walking under God's like overwhelming peace that He gives us.
People have been dealing with jealousy forever. The authors of the Bible share story after story of people whose lives were affected by it. And one of those people was a guy named David. Now, at first, he was an unknown shepherd who rose then eventually into prominence, unexpected prominence, and became one of the most famous kings of all time. But in between his time as a shepherd and as a king, David worked for another king named Saul. Now, Saul was tall and strong and powerful. He was an incredible warrior. He was a respected king, and the people loved Saul. He had it all. And after David, who you may have heard, killed an enemy giant named Goliath, Saul obviously promoted David. I mean, any king on earth would have been thrilled to have a guy like David in their army. And so check out what the writer named Samuel said about David in the Old Testament. He said, whatever mission Saul sent him on, David was so successful that Saul gave him a high rank in the army. And this pleased all the troops and Saul's officers as well. I mean, this is awesome, right? David's crushing it and everyone's happy. Well, until they weren't, because this is what it says next. When the men were returning home after David had killed the Philistine, the women came out from all the towns of Israel to meet King Saul with singing and dancing, with joyful songs and with timbrels and lyres. And as they danced, they sang, Saul has slain his thousands and David his tens of thousands. So this is when the so happy to have you around, David days kind of ended for Saul. I mean, for you, this is when he starts dating her. This is when she gets offered the scholarship. This is when he looks perfect, or she's announced as the valedictorian. See, you get it. And the list goes on and on for days. And Samuel writes that this made Saul angry, which, again, in our hearts, we can get that. I mean, who loves the song where the other person wins and has more and gets more and it outshines you? This is then what Samuel writes. It says, and from that time on, Saul kept a close eye on David. You catch that? He kept a close eye on David. He got consumed with someone else's life and the wheels fell off. Saul's life from this moment forward would spiral out of control. He quit living and he lost perspective on all of the great things that he had already had. Why? Because like we already said, that's what jealousy does. It gets you all wrapped up in someone else. And what is it that you miss? Well, for starters, you miss all the good things that God has already blessed you with. And believe it or not, you do have some really good things happening around you right now. You just haven't learned to recognize those things because you've been so consumed with what someone else has. Now, you may not have as much stuff as you want, but you still have a lot. You may not have as many friends as someone else, but you still have friends. You may not be as talented as someone else, but you're still so very talented. You can look at other people and what they have, or you can learn to appreciate what you have. King Saul had so much going for him. He had so many things to be grateful for. In fact, David, he would have done nothing but celebrate Saul and help his kingdom grow and thrive. But Saul became so consumed with jealousy toward David that he lost perspective on the blessings in his own life. It was the thief of everything. In another place in the Bible called Proverbs, the writer explained jealousy this way. He said, a heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones. Jealousy, it rots us from the core. See, that's what happened to Saul. It ate up everything in his life, and it was the thief of everything. But David, he kept his heart at peace, and it gave him life. See, while jealousy breaks down, peace builds up. David kept his eyes on the good that was promised to him, and that helped him stay strong. And the same can be true for us. When we keep our eyes focused on what we have, we'll find more peace. When we stop focusing on what others have, we'll be better able to enjoy the good in our life and in theirs.
Wait, stop! Stop, pause your small groups for a minute. Hey, this is Lance and Jillian and Artie. And so you guys are gonna discuss questions 5 and 6. And when I learn how to talk, I'm gonna ask Artie. Artie, how do you feel? How do you feel when others celebrate you? Just tell us a little bit about how that makes you feel, Artie.
Well, when people celebrate me, I feel appreciated, feel happy, you know, the usual stuff.
Nice. And that's good because sometimes it can feel a little weird when people celebrate you too, right? Like that can be kind of awkward. You're like, I don't know how to take it. Just say thanks. Just say, hey, thank you. Jillian, this is Jillian, guys. She's my neighbor and my goddaughter. Okay. Some people didn't know that, but now you do. Fancy thing for you. She's also Matthew's little sister. That's why they have the same last name. So, Jillian, when it comes to Revo, like I know you know pretty much everybody there, and I'm gonna ask you a question, and I know you're gonna want to say every single student in Revo, okay. But I want you to just think, whoever off the top of your head, who are some people you want to celebrate, some students specifically in Revo, and why?
Okay, so first off, we have
one.
The K-Spalt siblings.
Oh, that's 3.
Well,
first 3. Okay, there we go.
Yeah. We got the K-Spalt siblings. We got Violet, Scarlett, and Kellen.
Nice.
Wait, what?
And why?
And why?
Yep. So, Violet and Scarlett, they've been recently coming a lot, and they've been growing their relationship with Jesus. And you can see it through, and that's amazing for them. And then Kellen, he's starting to come to Revo a lot more.
Yeah.
Making friends.
Yeah.
Awesome.
He's really cool.
That's how it starts.
You know, and I think there's so many of you guys in Revo that we'd love to celebrate. So, hey, talk about it with your small group right now, guys. Talk through this. Let's celebrate each other. Let's have some fun. Bye.
Think of it this way. Celebrating is better than comparing. It's such a better way to live. It's more peaceful and more joyful and more life-giving. In fact, celebration is so powerful that it's the one thing that can kill jealousy. But how do we choose to celebrate instead of compare? Well, let's start by doing 2 things. The first thing, start with you. Think about what you do have that's worth celebrating, whether it's a friendship, something about your family, a good grade, a beautiful day, or just the fact that God loves you. There is something that you have that is worth celebrating. Big or small, start breaking free from jealousy by celebrating the good things in your own life.
Wait. Interruption break. Real quick. You guys can go answer question number 7, but we're gonna kind of talk about our answers. So this question is, why is it hard to celebrate ourselves, Kennedy?
I think it's hard to celebrate ourselves because we're so hard on ourselves and we're so much more critical of ourselves and everything we do than other people are.
Yeah. Kevin?
I think it's hard to celebrate ourselves because we may look down upon ourselves and think that we aren't worthy of celebration.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And I feel like, for me, it can be easy for us. We don't always want to be the center of attention, right? So we don't want to bring stuff to ourselves to make it look like we're so good at everything. We don't want to bring this attention to ourselves. So go answer it with your small group and join us back.
And second, celebrate someone else. I want you to try to find a way to celebrate a person that you're jealous of. It's not going to be easy, but remember, celebration will help you move toward peace, and peace brings life to the body. If all you can do is pray for them, that works too. Prayer is a great thing to practice every single day. It helps us get to a place where we can start celebrating and appreciating someone else. Here's a simple way for you to think about it. These 3 cups right here are gonna represent different ways that you can celebrate and be grateful. And the first cup is you. You can think of things to celebrate and be grateful for in your own life. For example, I love my church. And I love the forest around my house. Brings me a lot of peace. And I love the Atlanta Braves. That's right. Let's go Braves. And maybe for some of you, you can think of a kind of food. For me, I love Chick-fil-A. Super easy things to be grateful for. You get the idea. Get creative, stretch your brain, think outside the box, and come up with stuff that you're grateful for. Now, the second bucket is the people that you're grateful for. For instance, I'm grateful for my wife. And I'm grateful for my best friends. Y'all, I have 5 little kids. I'm grateful for all 5 of my kids. I'm grateful for my parents, my leaders, your grandparents. You get the idea. This is good. This is good. We're being grateful. We're celebrating. Now, it's time for the most difficult bucket. See, this one is the people that you want to see differently. Who can you be grateful for and celebrate that maybe are the people that you end up being jealous about? You start to look at them and you see, okay, her Instagram posts, they really are great. And he really is funny. A lot of people laugh, and I do too, I gotta be honest. She really is a great lacrosse player, and he really is that nice. I think genuinely, to everyone, I can be grateful for those things as well. Now, it may feel forced at first, but don't worry. Over time, this practice will start to feel more genuine, and eventually, you'll feel your heart changing. Let me move these out of the way. And I want you to imagine, if Saul had celebrated David instead of being jealous, how much better and happier would his life have been? But instead, Saul tried to take David's life and ended up losing his own. It's pretty dramatic, but all of that happened because jealousy was the thief of everything. And you and I, we have the same choice. We can waste our time and our energy focused on other people's lives and what they have, or we can learn to be grateful for what we have. Celebrating is better than comparing. And by the grace of God, we can put an end to jealousy. We can start focusing on the blessings that God's given us, and we can live our lives with more joy. So when you head to small group, think about opening up to them as you answer this question. Who is one person that I can choose to celebrate this week?